Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
There's nothing to fear. They can be done incredibly well.
Vancouver's mayor touts a new rental project close to his home, but critics wonder about the offer of below-market rates.
That's not an affordable or efficient way to provide assistance to those in greatest need.
Plus,
it took a big toll. It's been months. I've been struggling.
A North Shore daycare owner says red tape has cost her thousands of dollars and months of delays. The push to streamline approvals.
It sounds like we have a permitting process that is restricting.
And
his record speaks for itself, and it's a little bit offensive.
Vancouver gets set to rename a street, doing away with BC's first Lieutenant Governor.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. Vancouver's mayor is touting a new rental housing project close to his West Side home. It's offering what the city calls below-market rental rates in a region where many are squeezed by monthly costs. But as Leanne Yu reports, one critic says it is not an effective model for those in greatest need.
Ailish Babiki-Moore works in the Arbutus area. It's a place she'd like to make her home if she could afford it.
It's a great place to live. You have the Arbutus Greenway right there, access, transit.
I literally lived 3 houses down from here.
Vancouver Mayor Ken Sim does live here and is touting a new rental housing project. 19 on the Greenway on Arbutus and 20th on the west side offers 118 new rental homes. 30% of the units deemed below market rental housing.
We are big supporters. Some of the neighbors weren't. Let's call it what it is, because there's a lot of fear and apprehension. And what I would say to them is, look what was built here.
Below market housing is typically 20 to 30% off of market rental in a given area. The units in this complex start at $1,300 a month for a studio suite. The rates are meant to entice renters who may not qualify for non-market housing, but also can't afford market rents. Sim says Vancouver can expect more of these types of rentals.
We can create an environment where builders can build housing for the people that need it.
But at least one housing expert disagrees with the city's below-market model.
It's nice to provide brand new homes to people who sort of win a lottery and get discounts on rents in a new building, but that's not an affordable or efficient way to provide assistance to those in greatest need.
David Off suggests developers send a portion of their profits to the city for social housing instead.
What the city should do is take cash and use that cash to provide housing and assistance for people who are struggling to get off the street.
Babiki-Moore says she's glad to see more types of housing here, even if she won't qualify for this project.
At the end of the day, I think any affordable housing anywhere in Vancouver is a beneficial thing.
Leanne Yu, CBC News, Vancouver.
He was one of the founders of modern British Columbia, but over the last few years, Joseph Trutch has had his name removed from streets in Victoria and Nanaimo for his anti-Indigenous views. And on Tuesday, Vancouver Council will vote to make its own street swap. Justin McElroy has more on the switch and what it means.
After years of debate, Vancouver City Council is set to do something they haven't done in modern history: rename a street.
Very exciting. It's been a long time coming.
That is Wayne Sparrow, chief of the Musqueam Indian Band, and he's happy that if council approves the change on Tuesday, Trutch Street will be no more.
To have that name taken down and replaced with a name from Musqueam is, like I said, will be very emotional with a lot of our community members.
Trutch is named for Joseph Trutch, the first Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia. Today, he is perhaps best known for his leading role in greatly reducing the size of Indigenous reserves that were established by James Douglas, the founder of modern British Columbia, his slurs against Indigenous people, and his denial of Indigenous title. Historians have found that even by the standards of the time, Trutch held prejudiced views, which is why there were also successful campaigns in Victoria and Richmond to remove his name from their own Trutch streets.
I think his record speaks for itself, and it's a little bit offensive.
And so, after a few years of discussion with the Musqueam, it will be named Schmuckweam Awesome, with the anglicized name Musqueam View underneath it. The city says that external groups like Emergency Services, ICBC, or Google Maps can also use Musqueam View, though they encourage them to say that that name is a translated one available for use while colonial systems work to accept multilingual characters. So what each name each organization uses is mostly up to them, but it is a change, and changes have meanings. After all, there are 655 unique non-numbered street names in the city of Vancouver, and they all have a different story. Here is a chart. Yes, there are now more streets named for Indigenous people or places than war battles, but it still lags behind golf courses, explorers, dead Europeans, or all those streets in the middle of the city named for trees. What and who we care enough about to name streets after changes over time, though at least for trees, our appreciation has seemed to last for the long run. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
A search is underway for a man who's believed to have drowned in Cypress Provincial Park. West Vancouver police say a 29-year-old man was swimming across Cabin Lake with his fiancée when he started struggling. Witnesses told officers they saw the man's partner try to help him, but could not keep him above the water. Rescue teams were on scene trying to recover the body Sunday night into Monday. Overseas now, an Israeli airstrike has hit a state television broadcaster in Tehran. It came after Iran fired a barrage of new missiles at Israel overnight. It's the latest escalation since Israel struck Iran's nuclear sites and killed its top generals and scientists on Friday. Margaret Evans has the latest.
The moment an Israeli attack hit Iran's state broadcaster during a live feed, knocking it off the air, at least temporarily. Earlier, the Israeli military issued evacuation orders telling residents nearby to leave for their own safety, a practice it's used in both Lebanon and Gaza. Iran's leaders denounced it as psychological warfare. But Israel now claims complete aerial control of the skies above Tehran and is making use of it. There have been large traffic jams as panicked residents flee the capital, those who can. Amir Hossein Mousavi works in a Tehran market stall. Where would we go, he asks. Some people might have money, maybe they can leave, but us, I don't think we're going anywhere. More than 220 Iranians have been killed since Israel launched its assault on Friday. Its stated aims to destroy Iran's missile stockpiles and its ability to build a nuclear weapon. On Monday, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told troops the aims are in sight. The Israeli military says it's destroyed a third of Iran's ballistic missile launchers. But in Israel, some Iranian missiles are still finding their way through sophisticated defenses. This apartment building in central Israel suffered a direct hit overnight, turning muddied innards of a family home inside out. 4 people were killed. The blast so strong, 3 nearby tower blocks have been evacuated. Residents allowed back in to collect their belongings today.
A lot of noise of the boom. I was very afraid.
Hagit Avigdori Ma'olam came back for clothes and cat food, still shaken to the core, she says. She supports Benjamin Netanyahu's decision to go to war with Iran.
But we have no choice because they want to destroy us. We have to defend on us.
For now, with more threats of retaliation, both sides seem determined to continue on their direction of travel, no matter the danger of a still escalating war. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Petah Tikva.
Well, thousands of Canadians were traveling in Iran and Israel when the two countries began exchanging missile strikes. Many are now trying to get out, but as Yasmin Khanea explains, their options are extremely limited.
As Israel and Iran exchange devastating airstrikes, Canadian visitors like Maddie Eisenberg have been rushing to bomb shelters for several days.
It's been probably 20 or 30 times that we've been in and out of shelters, sometimes once every 45 minutes.
Eisenberg is in Israel as part of an international delegation invited by the country's foreign ministry to meet with members of the LGBTQ+ community.
There's a lot of emotions. We understand the concept of the shelters and the concept that we're safe, but at the same time, there is so much that we don't know. We don't know if it's going to hit near us. We don't know how many are coming at us.
With Israeli airspace close to civilian planes, she says the Canadian embassy has warned her it could be days or weeks before she could get out of the country.
So that was actually more anxiety-inducing in a weird way than any of the rockets have been up to this point.
Iran's airspace is also closed. Toronto resident Sarah Shariati's father is trapped in Tehran.
When the strikes first started, he could hear them while inside the house, and as the attacks are getting more intense and more frequent, he's worried and is unsure of what he should do.
On Monday, Iran's state broadcaster was bombed during a live broadcast, another testament to the unwavering tensions between the two nations. There is no Canadian embassy in Iran. Global Affairs says its ability to provide consular services is extremely limited. It says it has not received any reports of Canadians injured or killed in relation to the escalations in the Middle East. Those who are stranded will continue to shelter in place as necessary and hope the conflict doesn't escalate even further. Yasmin Ghaneya, CBC News, Vancouver.
Back in this province, the owner of a North Vancouver daycare says red tape has cost her thousands of dollars and delayed the opening of her business by months. As Amelia John explains, she's now warning others about licensing requirements around outdoor spaces.
If it were up to Ellie Palavanpour, Groville Early Learning would have about 24 children playing here. She's been trying to open this daycare in a densely populated area of North Vancouver since January, but got caught in red tape over outdoor space, something every childcare centre in BC requires.
It took a big toll. It's been months. I've been struggling. I didn't know, after $300,000 loan in my home, am I gonna get it? It's a 10-year lease. And it's $16,000 a month rent.
Belle Isle Park is a short walk from Palavanpour's daycare. Vancouver Coastal Health told her she needed a permit from the District of North Vancouver to take the children here as part of outdoor space requirements. But the district said it didn't issue those permits.
It sounds like we have a permitting process that is restricting and putting up barriers to daycares to be able to open and use parks nearby. And that to me is wrong, and we need to do something about it.
Palavanpour spent months going back and forth between the district and the health authority. She was finally granted a business license after agreeing to rotate between 3 outdoor spaces, including Belle Isle Park. CBC News contacted the Ministry of Health and Vancouver Coastal Health to try to get clarity on requirements for outdoor park use space, but we didn't receive a response.
Where is the ministry right now in clarifying for licensing in the future and land use? Where are they in that process? Are they reviewing it? Could they do a better job? Yes, they could.
Advocates for childcare operators say the process needs to be simplified.
And the harder it is for people to navigate red tape and bureaucracy in opening things, the less, really those good people, the passionate people that are coming in are going to want to do this.
Palavanpour is finally open for business, but with summer a traditionally slow season, she's hoping she can make it to the fall. Amelia John, CBC News, North Vancouver.
Darius Madavi is here for a look at the weather, and you have an update on wildfires, is that right?
That's right. I thought we'd just go through a couple of the major ones. The first one is the Kiskatinaw River fire, just south of Dawson Creek up here. The fire perimeters, big file, so not loading in, but I can tell you that it is now holding steady at over 266 square kilometers, not hectares, kilometers. That is a massive fire there. Down here, over around Squamish, instead, we can take a look at the fire here, the Dryden Creek fire. This one also now under control. Some of those evacuation alerts have lifted as a result, although a couple alerts and orders are still in place. Later in the show, Dan, we're going to take a look at some thunderstorms moving through the province.
Okay, thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
A global movement is making waves at this year's Dragon Boat Festival. After the break, we take a look at the team that aims to build community for those living with breast cancer. Stay with us. BC Attorney General Nikki Sharma says British Columbians impacted by the toxic drug crisis due to opioid product marketing may now see justice. The BC Supreme Court has certified a class action lawsuit that the province filed against consulting firm McKinsey & Company. Sharma says McKinsey's involvement in marketing for its clients helped promote and sell the opioid products that have caused so much harm for families. The Concord Pacific Dragon Boat Festival kicks off this coming weekend, one of the teams marking its 30th anniversary on the water. As Shivani Joshi reports, it's a global movement that started in Vancouver, aiming to build community for breast cancer survivors.
A year and a half ago, 29-year-old Anka Dobre received the heart-wrenching news no one wants to hear. She was diagnosed with breast cancer.
You don't expect it in your 20s, at 29, because there's no screening in your 20s.
She braced herself for the worst.
I got a lot of comments about how it was really scary and what's going to happen for the rest of your life, like are you going to be bedridden?
But she refused to let the diagnosis define her. Dobre joined A Breast in a Boat, a dragon boat team made entirely of breast cancer survivors.
And that's what's so amazing about this team is that there's such a sense of community. Like you don't feel alone here because everybody, even though we're at different ages and different stages in our lives, we all went through that same terrifying thing that you never really expect yourself to go through.
The team started 30 years ago, right here in Vancouver. In 1996, UBC sports medicine doctor Don McKenzie launched a 6-month clinical trial. He wanted to challenge the myth that upper body exercise was harmful to breast cancer survivors.
So we slowly learned in the last 20 or 30 years that including exercise both during and right after cancer treatment really helped people to maintain their physical function, reduce some of the side effects of cancer treatments like fatigue, so help to manage fatigue during treatment, improve mood, and improve quality of life.
Campbell says Mackenzie's idea to start a dragon boat team for breast cancer survivors helped change practice around the world. Today, there are 6 survivor teams in the Lower Mainland and more than 250 worldwide.
I think they really have shown that the role of exercise and the camaraderie that you get from that really changed how people thought about breast cancer and thought about exercise and recovery after treatment.
Hit, there you go, hit.
Carol Dale joined the team in 1996, 5 years after her diagnosis, and is living proof that recovery can be powerful and joyful.
It just turned out to be a fascinating year, learning a new skill, learning that I could trust my body again to work for me. And I met some wonderful people, and that's what keeps me going.
1 in 8 women in Canada will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. Many here say dragon boating has offered a path forward.
I haven't been in a team since I finished high school. So cancer can turn into a very happy opportunity. So I've learned with this team that there's life after cancer.
It's been really an incredible experience of just getting back and being active and stronger than before.
They are one of 33 breast cancer dragon boat teams from around the world paddling for more than just medals. They're proof that there is life after diagnosis as they find strength in every stroke. Shivani Joshi, CBC News, Vancouver.
There's Victoria Clipper making its way into the provincial capital earlier in the afternoon. A cool June day on the island by comparison, and that weather is set to continue. Darius has your BC-wide weather forecast coming up.
I'm Stephen Quinn, and I love living here in Vancouver, BC. It's a city with world-renowned beauty, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In our new daily podcast, This is Vancouver, we're exploring the diverse range of issues and stories in the city, the good, the bad, and everything in between, as told by the people who live it every day. Don't miss This is Vancouver, available wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll talk to you soon.
Summer, as we well know, can mean lots of outdoor fun. But there are some risks, and one of them is ticks. They're showing up in greater numbers in BC earlier in the season and bringing disease risks with them.
Yeah, ticks are basically little crawly bags of pathogens.
Now, not all ticks are created equal, but most carry some kind of pathogen. The black-legged tick is known for spreading a bacteria that causes Lyme disease in humans. Reported Lyme cases nationwide have gone up by more than 5,000 since 2009. The tiny arachnids hitch a ride on animals like deer, mice, and dogs. They can even hitch a ride on us. And if they're not spotted early, they can start feeding. Our CBC medical columnist, Dr. Melissa Lem, is here with us to talk about Lyme disease and ticks. You're now dealing with, not to get too personal in the patient department, you have 2 patients now who are dealing with tick bites. What happened there?
That's right. Well, I'm glad we're having this conversation because 'tis the season for tick bites, and it's summertime now, or it's warmer weather. As hemlines get shorter and as sleeves get shorter, there's a lot more real estate for those ticks to attach to. And as you mentioned, right now from about from March to July is when ticks are most active. So again, more skin, more ticks equals more tick bites.
Can you tell when? Can most people tell when they've been bitten, or or does it take something more? Like.
The problem is that ticks actually secrete an anesthetic into their saliva, so when they bite you, you can't feel that they're biting you. And they can stay attached for up to 10 days, depending on their life cycle. So it's really, really important if you go into areas that are prone to ticks, so that would be with densely wooded areas or high grasses or lots of leaf litter, that you check yourself while you're out, and also when you get home to make sure that you don't have a tick attached that could possibly transmit Lyme disease to you.
Now, not all ticks will carry Lyme disease, is that correct?
That's correct. And there's actually good news here in BC. So here in BC, fewer than 1% of ticks actually carry the bacteria that confers Lyme disease to humans, whereas elsewhere in Canada, in Ontario, up to 75% of black-legged ticks can carry Lyme disease. And something else that's positive that a lot of people don't know is that ticks typically have to stay attached for over 36 hours to transmit Lyme disease to you. So if you find that tick and you remove it within 24 hours, your chances, especially in BC, are much lower of getting Lyme disease.
I guess that's some good news. Is there a way to tell if you have a tick on you, if it's a Lyme disease carrying pest?
You actually, the arachnid is.
Yeah, there we are, arachnid, yeah.
So you actually can't tell unless you submit the tick to the BC Centre for Disease Control. So there is a program where your doctor can submit it for you and they can analyze it. There's also a program called etick.ca where you can submit a photo of it, and then they can identify whether or not it may be a Lyme disease carrying tick. And then they say, put the tick in your freezer for 30 days and then monitor yourself for symptoms of Lyme disease for those 30 days and see your doctor if you do develop them.
What are the symptoms of Lyme disease, just in case somebody thinks they might have it?
The problem is that they're very non-specific. It kind of feels like a viral infection. So between 3 and 30 days after that tick bite, you could get viral type symptoms like a headache, like fever, fatigue, body aches. And then later you might develop, unfortunately, neurological symptoms about a month or so later, eyelid swelling and different immune system issues. So it's really, really important. Our first line of protection against ticks is prevention of tick bites.
Now, there is a vaccine, I understand, for dogs. Do we have one for people?
Unfortunately, we don't anymore. This was discontinued several years ago, but there are clinical trials for new Lyme disease vaccines happening elsewhere. So really, if you head out into one of these high-risk areas, make sure you're wearing long sleeves, make sure you're wearing long pants, and you check yourself and your pets. This is really important. You mentioned dogs have a vaccine for ticks when you get home to make sure that there's an attached tick, is not an attached tick that could be giving you Lyme disease.
Good advice for the great outdoors. Dr. Melissa Lem, always a pleasure, and thanks for your expertise.
Thanks, Dan.
A doctors group has issued new healthcare guidelines for patients experiencing early pregnancy loss. As Alison Northcott explains, the emotional and psychological toll of miscarriage can often be overlooked.
This Toronto hospital has a specialized clinic for early pregnancy, an alternative to the emergency room to support patients through complications like miscarriages.
We provide nursing care, physician care, ultrasound, lab care all in one place, so we can help patients figure out what exactly is going on in their early pregnancy complication.
A new clinical practice guideline by the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of Canada says early pregnancy loss is common and often overlooked as a treatment priority. It calls on clinicians to screen patients for depression after pregnancy loss and for more early pregnancy assessment clinics like the one in Toronto.
We are not talking about, building new facilities. We're talking about leveraging the existence of what we have right now. Having a room just dedicated for these women.
The guideline says early pregnancy loss occurs in about 15% of pregnancies. The mental health impacts can include depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder.
Women can have prolonged mental health issues from this. And research will show that if it's dealt with effectively with compassionate care and the proper follow-up, we lessen that risk.
Another recommendation is to ensure medications that help manage pregnancy loss are free and available across Canada.
What essentially we want is, regardless of where you're receiving your care in Canada, it will be consistent, it will be based on recommendations, and it will be the best care that can be delivered.
It was just devastating because it was my first pregnancy, and my husband and I, we were so excited to finally welcome our first child.
Bethany Murray had 2 pregnancy losses within a year.
Mental health support should be more of a thing when it comes to early pregnancy loss.
She hopes the guidelines lead to more compassion for patients like her within the healthcare system. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
The federal government has now unveiled the Canada Strong Pass to promote domestic tourism this summer. It offers families free or discounted rates to natural and cultural attractions across the country. But as David Thurton explains, some worry about what more visitors means for fragile ecosystems.
Canada's national parks offer stunning views, but at a cost. Just in time for summer, the federal government is lifting those fees, introducing what the minister calls the Canada Strong Pass.
There's no need to register or get physical pass. Just plan your trip as you normally would, show up and enjoy the free access and discounts at participating locations.
Starting Friday and for the rest of the summer, the federal government is offering free admission to federal historic sites, parks, and marine conservation areas, and a 25% discount on Parks Canada camping fees. National museums are also free to anyone 17 and under.
So get there and explore Canada's national treasures, discover new places, enjoy unforgettable experiences, live your own Canadian adventure.
The announcement comes as travelers opt for staycations.
Absolutely, we decided we'd stay in Canada this year. We won't go to the United States.
It's definitely well-timed with the heightened sense of patriotism that we have right now.
But there are concerns about the influx of tourists and the impact they could have on the fragile ecosystems.
They should probably put a limiter in terms of how many people could enter, because people really do love free things.
Visits to some national parks have been increasing. With that comes increased vehicle traffic and wildlife encounters.
Because we've seen so many more people wanting to get out into nature, the park system that we have has been under stress.
But limiting access isn't the answer, according to this advocate.
It's important that, we don't look at that and say, well, we need fewer people in the parks. It's not that we need fewer people going to out into nature. It's that we need more nature for them to go out into.
The government is giving Canadians other opportunities to see the country, like by train. Via Rail is offering free passenger travel for those 17 and under once they're accompanied by a grown-up, and also discounted travel for young people. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
World leaders have gathered at the G7 summit in Alberta, where high-stakes deals are being hammered out. After a one-on-one meeting on the sidelines of this gathering, the Prime Minister says Canada and the U.S. have agreed to aim for a new deal within a month. Katie Simpson has the latest.
Mr. President, welcome to Canada. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. Happy birthday. A few days short. A little bit. A few days short, but...
The nervous energy dissipated quickly as the Prime Minister flattered his guest, hoping to finally make a breakthrough on trade and security talks.
We're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly.
Despite the U.S. president's commitment to tariffs, it appears there has been progress. Hours after the meeting wrapped, Mark Carney posted on social media he and Donald Trump agreed to pursue negotiations toward a deal within the coming 30 days. A statement that is in line with what Trump suggested was possible. Do you think a deal is achievable within days, within weeks? Is there that kind of runway?
Yeah, it's achievable. Both parties have to agree. Yeah, sure.
Canada has been pushing for across-the-board tariff relief ever since Trump returned to office and launched his global trade war.
We're signalers. We're very proud of it.
Promising to meet U.S. demands to increase defense spending targets, improve border security,
The Golden Dome for America.
and consider joining Trump's Golden Dome missile defense program, all as Carney tries to reset the relationship which soured under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that that was a mistake.
No one in the Canadian delegation said a word or even flinched when Trump criticized Trudeau and falsely claimed multiple times he was involved in Russia's removal from the G8. It actually happened under Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Carney is trying to focus on the present as a new push toward an agreement kicks into high gear.
We feel a sense of acceleration in the discussions in the last couple of weeks, and that is a very good thing.
Katie Simpson reporting. Now, Trump's plan to deport thousands of migrants from the U.S. has come under fire. But as Karen Pauls reports, he has now ordered federal agencies to expand the detention and deportation of migrants.
A weekend of protests across the U.S. Anger over ICE raids targeting undocumented migrants, leading to clashes with law enforcement, including the National Guard. Undeterred, U.S. President Donald Trump posting on social media he has directed ICE agents to do everything in their power to achieve the very important goal of delivering the single largest mass deportation program in history. The goal is at least 3,000 arrests a day, up from about 650 a day during the first 5 months of Trump's second term. To reach that goal, officials must expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. Trump added he wants agents to focus on our crime-ridden and deadly inner cities and those places where sanctuary cities play such a big role. As he headed to Canada for the G7 summit, Trump doubled down, defending his decision.
So the protesters, if we didn't have the National Guard on call and ready, they would rip Los Angeles apart. They come and they check and they say, is the National Guard going to be there? And if the National Guard's being there, they don't even show up.
But at the same time, he's dealing with concerns over the impact these mass deportations are having on key industries that rely on these workers, including agriculture and hospitality.
The disruption and the fear that has been caused by the raids has really had a devastating effect and has been a body blow to our economy. I don't think the president understands that we have entire sectors of our economy that cannot function without immigrant labor.
People that are at work being productive are less of a concern than people that are, running the black market, illicit finance, sex trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking operations in the United States.
There are reports that ICE arrests on farms and in restaurants and hotels have been put on pause for now. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Washington.
Back to the Middle East now. Iran and Israel are locked in a missile fight. But how long is that going to last? David Common shows us what we know about each of the nation's arsenals.
The skies over both Iran and Israel may seem ignited by missiles, but there are already signs Iran's shooting fight is slowing down. It is believed to have had at least 2,000 ballistic missiles, but Israel's been targeting its stockpiles and launchers. So by Sunday, day 3 of the conflict, Iran was already firing fewer at Israel. While Tehran has the largest number of ballistic missiles in the Middle East, it must still conserve. And some of what it's firing is landing. Israel's much vaunted Iron Dome system, highly effective against the slower and smaller rockets of Hamas and Hezbollah, is of limited use against Iran's ballistic missiles. which shoot more than 1,000 kilometers up before dropping to their target at supersonic speed or faster. Instead, Israel uses its Arrow system, designed with the Americans to intercept missiles outside the atmosphere. It's more than 90% effective, but each shoot down can cost $2 million, and those interceptors are also in limited supply. This means strategically, Iran is choosing its targets carefully, and Israel may be choosing which missiles to intercept and which not to. Israel says it wants to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Now, to do that, it's been striking here, the above-ground fuel enrichment facility at Natanz. But fully destroying the one below ground is much harder. Then there's Iran's deeply buried enrichment facility, Fordo. For now, it is impossible for Israel to destroy it unless they can get inside. From the skies above, the only non-nuclear weapon which could destroy Fordo is a 30,000-pound munition called the Massive Ordnance Penetrator. Only the U.S. has that bomb, and the B-2 bomber aircraft needed to deliver it. So far, the Americans say they don't want to be involved in any bombing runs inside Iran. Iran, though, says it's moving the nuclear fuel there out. Were it to lose Fordo, it would likely mean an end to Iran's nuclear ambitions for years to come. Meanwhile, Iran appears to have lost control over some of its own skies. Israel has destroyed the anti-aircraft defenses inside Iran and has been flying its own fighter planes in without getting shot down. This is what's called air superiority.
It is a move that aims to get more people out on the streets of historic Gastown, but it's not without concerns. We'll tell you why after this. Water Street in Vancouver's Gastown will be closed to vehicles on Sundays until the end of August. It's the city's latest attempt to pedestrianize the popular tourist area. But as Ali Batargue explains, some businesses are worried.
No cars could break apart the dancing in the middle of Gastown's Water Street. It's a luxury now allowed by the city of Vancouver every Sunday with its car-free summer pilot, which will last until August 31st. In place of vehicle traffic, events and vendors will fill these streets to attract locals and tourists alike.
Come down to Gastown, bring your family, your friends, your dogs, enjoy the patios, have a couple of bevies, have some nachos, do whatever you need to do, and just really enjoy your time here.
The idea being supported by many visitors and nearby residents.
I never come to Gastown, so it brought me down here today. And I've been living in Vancouver since COVID. So, I think it's fantastic.
You're not worried about cars and their sound, and you see people walking around.
I live just around the corner, have for 12 years. Just picks the whole mood of the place up.
Vehicles will need to steer clear of the pedestrian zone, starting from this point at Richard Street, and it will go all the way down to Columbia Street, which is about 5 blocks down.
This year's pilot is scaled down compared to last year's, which saw the streets closed from vehicle traffic on all days of the week. It drew mixed reaction from businesses in the area. A 2024 city staff reports revealing about 41% of businesses in the area were not in favor of the pedestrian zone. The Gastown Business Improvement Society says reducing the program to just 1 day is a compromise.
One of the things that we learned through the pilot last year is that with closing Water Street down, a lot of the local traffic that our businesses normally would have received through the summer did not happen. From a revenue perspective, a lot of those businesses were negatively impacted.
Potential tourist dollars aside, businesses like Kit and Ace clothing store remain weary, even with less car-free days this year.
I'm a bit worried because many of our regular customers come here by car, right? So I think that can affect us a bit. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Warglet says the city has taken steps to address issues over parking and access. But when it comes to making car-free Gastown permanent during the summer, Warglet says the city will see how this year's pilot goes and if it's something they'll consider down the road. Ali Batargue, CBC News, Vancouver.
The weather update is brought to you by BC Cancer Foundation. Support BC Cancer Foundation by leaving a gift in your will and join our 90-year legacy of driving life-saving innovations.
Darius Madavi here with our BC-wide weather forecast. What is going on in our great big province?
Well, we've got a number of things happening, Dan. First of all, lightning moving up through the northeast. As you can see here, lots of lightning strikes. Now, last week I would have been especially concerned about this in this part of the province, although some rain in the Peace region over the last few days, right through the weekend, has really lowered the fire danger there, at least temporarily. I'm more concerned about the few lightning strikes that we're seeing up closer to Fort Nelson, where we do have higher fire danger still. But you can see widespread severe thunderstorm warnings up there in that corner of the province. So keep an eye on that. Other than that, we're going to look at some precipitation slowly making its way into the province. Very scattered showers for the most part, including down here in southwestern BC. That's going to arrive for the west coast of the island and the North Island tomorrow, probably tomorrow morning, and then reach the South Island and the lower mainland tomorrow overnight into Wednesday. Likely tapering off as we get into the end of the day Wednesday. Now, again, I want to highlight the fact that there are some flood warnings in place up for that far corner of the province, up in the Peace region, just because, again, of all that rain that came down in an area that has been very much stricken by drought. So the fire danger rating has come down as a result of that rainfall very consistently. But here we see our drought map, and you can see this area very much still under those drought conditions. So that drought has been ongoing virtually since the fall of 2022, pretty much unbroken. And that means that it is very difficult for us to see that come down, and also raises the risk of erosion, landslides, that sort of thing, flooding as a result of all that rainfall that came down, just because the ground can't hold it. So keep an eye on this as well. This is the latest drought update from the beginning of the month. We also are watching the smoke that is happening up in the northeast, especially very severe smoke conditions up there, although at times over the next few days, other parts of the province may see that as well. So just keeping an eye on that. Temperatures over the next few days, as you can see, not fluctuating all that much for most areas, although they will start to dip a little bit on Wednesday and then start to recover again on Thursday. And then maybe seeing another dip as some more precipitation arrives for the coast Friday into Saturday. Here are conditions for tomorrow. Again, look out for that surface smoke up in the northeast as well as in a few places down in the southeast, and watching out for thunderstorms again, mostly in the central interior tomorrow. And here's our 5-day forecast, Dan. Overall, bit of a mixed bag.
No kidding. Okay, Darius, thanks very much.
Thank you.
A firefighter in Newfoundland wanted to pull together a crew of women before she retired from the force. That story and how she did it, next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC inbox.
CBC is the exclusive media partner of the Indian Summer Festival, July 4th to 13th. The theme of Borderless Solidarities invites audiences into spaces of shared breath, joyful defiance, and deep listening. Tickets at indiansummerfest.ca. And CBC's Musical Nooners is back on July 2nd. It's a free, family-friendly concert series that brings together community, culture, and live music every Wednesday at noon.
We have an update for you on a story from earlier in the program. West Vancouver police say they have now recovered the body of a man who was missing and presumed drowned in Cabin Lake. Police are now transferring his body to the BC Coroner's Service.
Now, a group of women firefighters made history recently at the St. John's Fire Department in Newfoundland.
For the first time in 130 years, an all-women crew was deployed. Peter Cowan explains the significance of this milestone.
For the 33 years Gina Burke has fought fires, she's used to being the odd woman out. But with her career coming to an end next year, there was one thing she wanted to accomplish.
We just said, oh my God, wouldn't it be great to get all the girls together? We're starting to get to a point now where we have enough girls that we'd be able to man a station.
For one day, in one station, there wasn't a man in sight. From captain all the way down to the most junior officer, it was all women.
It will be challenging. It's challenging in both aspects, just working with all men.
Burke is used to making firsts happen. She was the first female firefighter the St. John's Fire Department ever hired in 1992. She was the first female captain. But decades later, only 1 in every 10 firefighters are women.
I don't think we needed to prove to each other. I think it was more of a prove to people outside the department, maybe even some people in the department, that, that probably don't believe in women being in the male-dominated occupation.
There's still that old school mentality, that boys' club.
And they proved themselves in a busy shift with medical calls and even a house fire. And after decades of blazing a trail, there was pride that came in seeing women excel.
As soon as the girls got off the truck, I knew we were solid. Like, they just outperformed a great percentage of the men in the job. They gave more than I would even ask for, and I just have such a feeling of pride. It's unexplainable.
Gina Burke's only regret that this may not happen again before she retires next year. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
Good way to round out the career.
No kidding. Very cool.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, our free app, as well as on YouTube and our website, cbc.ca/BC.
And we will have your next local news at 11 o'clock right here and right after the National. Good night.